First off, let me thank everyone for their patience. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. We are out of executive session. Welcome to those that are here and those that are online with us. This is the Dawson County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today is February 4th, 2021. And we'll start out with a roll call. And as you can see, we're all here. Our opening presentation tonight is Development Authority of Dawson County update. Our Development Authority Chairman, Tony Passarella. Tony.
David, will you grab that remote and turn that TV back down? I think it's they should work all the same.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is an ongoing quarterly review of the elements of the intergovernmental agreement that we have signed with the Development Authority in Dawson County. So I'd like to give you an update. First of all, I'd like to give you some of our events that have occurred since our last meeting. The biggest event that we had was, believe it or not, it's 3 years ago that we contracted with the Chamber of Commerce to help us execute a plan where we would incorporate the executive director's position in the chamber building as well as under the chamber auspices. And the cooperation was such a success, and I think we've moved a long way here. And in retrospect, I think it was a very good decision, and I'd like to recognize Mandy Powers, who's here in the audience. Although she's new to the job as chairman, she was the chamber president at the time that the agreement was solved and signed. I mean, so hats off to her, and we're looking forward to another term. We've extended that contract with the chamber. We have one new board member that you guys voted in, and Dennis has attended his first meeting, and he's drinking from a fire hose right now, but I think it's going to be a great addition for us. And we had elections. Our elections were held, and so we've got a new group of people who are in the executive committee. They've asked me to stay on for one more year as chairman, and I have agreed to do that. So you're going to get tired of seeing me. Next slide is just a quick look at the unemployment tracking for the county. If you noticed, they hit a peak back in the spring, up, and the value is 11.7% at this height. We're down now into the 3.6 area. It's by some measures, we're at full employment at this point in the county. But of course, there are different ways of viewing that statistic, and it doesn't minimize the things that we're trying to do to bring better paying jobs and industry into the county. The next slide is the first of the parameters by which we judge our success with the charter that you've given us. On the implementation plan, we have the strategic plan is in place. As you guys know, we completed that last year. The implementation phase now, we split our action items into short-term, midterm, and long-term horizons, and we're in the process now of executing on those. From a workforce development standpoint, I think we've made great progress there, so I'd like to report success in a number of initiatives that are with Lanier Tech, as well as the University of North Georgia. We were successful in working with them to get a grant for us to it's called Startup. It's a 3-year grant, and it will be a way for us to integrate some of their students into the economic development forte. Next slide is under the commercial development and relationship cultivation. Things of interest here to point out is in the commercial developer cultivation in the fourth quarter of this year, when Dawson County is at its most beautiful, we will be hosting a Develop or Discover Dawson event with statewide and utilities site development people, so that these people will have visibility to what we have to offer here in the quality of life. We have some ongoing initiatives there. Under the property identification, we continue to work with vacant areas to try and find businesses that will fit into the geography, topography, and ordinances of there. Next slide is under developing our design and relationship cultivation. I got to say that hats off to the county department heads that in public works as well as in recreation, all of which are integral part and included in our discussions and as we develop initiatives. As far as incentives, we have a framework that's in the strategic plan. Right now, I think we have a way of analyzing some of the incentives against job and wage creation that we didn't have before. And if the board's pleasure, if they go through with the proposed consulting initiative to be able to identify the burden for the county from residential growth and industrial growth, that will be a big help to us as well in that area. As far as data aggregation, we had, as you know, we initiated our GPS. We have that in place. It's now linked to our website as well as the county's website through the help of Laura and her staff. And we had a recent example to kind of give you the nuts of what you can do here. It's hundreds and hundreds of different data analysis tools that are built into the system. It's real time. And recently, we had some of our existing businesses come to us and ask for a study of wages, and we were able to pull down specific to their business model, what the competitive wage structure in the surrounding counties as well as in Dawson County was. So it's been very useful to some of our existing businesses. Oops, Kristen, I blew it. Under new business inquiries, we continue to have a lot of interest in this area, particularly in the office front distribution to the rear type of businesses. And right now, we just lack the capacity for them to have a place to go in the time frame that they need. We thank Chris, or Commissioner Gaines, made an introduction for us that is bearing fruit as far as a casework manufacturer is now located down in Forsyth County that's looking to relocate with a 60,000 square foot center. And if you think about that, that's twice as big as a new medical building that they're building on 400 across from the chamber, twice as many square feet as that. So you can see the benefit of that. So thank you, Chris. And our existing business inquiries, we've got some growth going on with warehousing of some of our existing business, looking for additional space to warehouse in the county, and the BTD expansion assistance. The national headquarters is giving them the green light to go ahead. So we anticipate that to be this year. As far as workforce initiatives, we continue to support our high school in being able to conduct mock interviews. We did one in January of this year, and they have pending activities, as you can see on the chart. We continue to support our existing businesses on the Industrial Relation Leaders Roundtable event. The first one was well attended and seems to really had value for interchange and networking. What we're finding coming out of this is it's identifying supply chains and the supply chains for these people who manufacture in our county. If we could bring their supply chain closer to them physically, that's what they're looking for. Of course, there's always also the the benefit of businesses getting to know each other and being able to compare notes. We're hoping to have the third quarter to have the second one of those. Then you're probably aware of some of the initiatives we've got under the West Hightower Drive improvements, or some of our existing businesses that are on that road. And the objective there, of course, is to make that area more attractive, not only to retain businesses, but also to be able to fill out that potential as one of the areas that was designated in our strategic plan for an industrial growth. We had, as I reported last meeting, we had applied for and were accepted a no-match grant for $20,000 to be able to design a master plan for the trail systems in this area. We expect to have that final report in April of this year. And the last is an update where y'all were involved in some of this with the Peaks of Dawson project. To remind you why we're doing it, why is the Development Authority involved? We're involved because what we're trying to do is to put workforce housing in place to the people that work in Dawson County can live in Dawson County. And just to give you an example, right as of December of this year, the average one-bedroom apartment in Dawson County was $1,000 a month. Three-bedroom apartment was $1,800 a month. This development at Peaks of Dawson is capped at $850. So you can see the benefit to having workforce housing. It's 84 units, and they expect construction to start in the second quarter of this year. That's my report. That's the updates that we have. We continue to try and be transparent. We continue to try and be proactive rather than reactive in the jobs that we have the privilege in serving the county. Are there any questions?
Questions for Tony?
Just say thank you for your leadership and what you've done with that board. And we've seen some amazing transformations come through that over the last few years. So thank you for your contributions.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. All right, I ask everybody to please stand for brief invocation and pledge. If you would bow your heads, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another day and the many blessings of life. We ask for knowledge and wisdom to carry out the business of this county. Anything that we accomplish, we'll give you the honor and glory, for it's in Christ's name we do ask and pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Anybody got any announcements? Any announcements? Next up, we have approval of the minutes. First up, we have the minutes of the work session held on January 21st, 2021. Any additions or deletions? Motions?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have the minutes of the voting session held on January 21st, 2021. Any changes or deletions? Motions?
Motion to,
Go ahead.
motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda. Don't have any changes to the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have public comment. We do have one person signed up for public comment at this time, Mr. Holmans.
Really had nothing to say, but I got a chance to take off my mask. I appreciate the opportunity. I am here on behalf of the sheriff. He's, as you've seen, he's in isolation quarantining for a little while and asked me to appear in connection with the SPLOST 7 project list. And I know y'all have that on the agenda about a consideration of a revision to that list. Our request is on behalf of the sheriff's office that as to the radio system, that you include asterisks beside that system and specifically reference that the current estimate for a functional system is $7 million. And the reason for that request is that's what the proposal that the sheriff's office has received for a functional system, a safe system for the sheriff's department. And Commissioner Dooley, it essentially goes to the point you made in the work session, that if you allocate only $3 million for that project, then a functional system simply will not be available based upon what we know now. We have no difficulty including language that also says that the cost estimate will be evaluated further. But as it stands right now, the estimate and the best proposal that the sheriff's office has is $7 million. You had that on the list that was approved in June of last year when the projects came in. In the November minutes from the meeting with the city, the project list was not attached. We understand that there was a project list that was being considered that had reduced that amount, but the first time that was approved was the January 21st meeting, and that's what raises the concern for the sheriff's office. A functional radio system that leaves the officers protected so they don't go into a dead spot, which is frequently the situation now, is what the sheriff is after. We understand this technology changes. And so when it goes out to bid, because the proposal that we have now is stale, we don't know if that price is still good. We understand if this SPLOST is approved, it will go out for bid, as you will do, and that it will continue to be evaluated. And if the technology has changed, hopefully the project cost will come down. But the way that your SPLOST is structured, which we approve and we agree that this ought to be one of the items that is in the first cut, if you will, the first 20% along with the other building that's referenced, we simply request that you include that the current estimate for that radio system is $7 million. So as we go forward, we have a baseline to start from so that we don't just wind up with $3 million that is nothing but patchwork and certainly doesn't constitute a new functional radio system. I understand the revision proposed tonight combines this with the EOC and 911 Center for a combined total of $8.5 million. I understand that situation, but the radio system that is functional that we're aware of right now is $7 million, and we believe that ought to be referenced. I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Joey, as you're well aware, myself and Danny sat down with the sheriff several days ago, and we discussed this ad nauseum, and we've had dialogue back and forth on the points that you're again bringing up. And the thing that I've continued to say, and I will say again, if it didn't get clear, wasn't clear in emails, is that we want the best system that Dawson County can afford. Unfortunately, there was not a study that was done by the sheriff or by us, by a third-party entity. My understanding is the $7 million was by a Motorola representative. So
Yes.
Obviously, there could be some biases there, and there could be some biases pointing in a certain direction. So unfortunately, we got down to a week ago when all of a sudden it comes up that there wasn't engagement on either side, sheriff included, or us engaging, that he was concerned about the set dollar amount we have. As you well know, SPLOST is one bucket of funds that we have. We also have other funds that I'm committed to utilizing in order to fund a reasonable, effective system for the sheriff, for Danny's service delivery, and for our roads department. So by allowing us to put those into one bucket, the 8.5 million, that includes the building and the radio system because they go hand in hand, it allows more flexibility. And if we have to value engineer the building down based on what the third party that's going to come in and do a full needs assessment for determining what that radio system looks like, I think it might be a hybrid, because some of the people that the sheriff's department interacts with is the state patrol. They don't use the same system that the $7 million was pointing to. So I think there's a lot of missing parts still. I wish we would have vetted this out 6 months ago, but we didn't. So we're where we're at today. But my commitment is that we'll do what we can to find funds to support the best system that we can afford that gets officers the communications they need and gets fire and EMS the communications they need, because they're front lines and we've got to work towards that. But SPLOST is not the only bucket. We do have other opportunities to fund it, as you know. So I just wanted people to know that.
Well, and only thing I can reply with is the radio system that protects the officers has been something that Dawson County has been considering at least since 2011, so for 10 years.
Sure.
And the cost estimates that were received at that time, there's not, I hear your point about, yes, Motorola submitted a proposal, but that's where we get the information. Is from those who can provide those systems. There's engineering involved, and you're right. We'll have to bring somebody in to look at that, but that's who provides the system that will keep our officers safe. And also, we respect that Public Works and the fire department also use this radio system, but the officers are out there alone. They're patrolling alone, and when they're in a dead spot, going to a domestic violence situation or another situation, they need to be connected. And that's the only concern. It's not here to try to fuss. We're willing to work at it. We just understand that when it says new radio system, as the sheriff points out, he's going to the voters saying this is to serve the sheriff's department. And he just can't say in good conscience, as we stand here right now to the voters, that $3 million will fund a new radio system that's functional for what the officers need to be protected. Sure. And I agree with you. We can say, okay, we're going to allocate this $3 million out of SPLOST, and the other funds will come from some other source. That's really what he's looking for is, okay, what is that other source? And let's go ahead and identify that so we know we're going to allocate this $3 million plus whatever this other funding source is. And we're going to have to bid it. I mean, the voters got to approve it first, and then it's going to have to be reviewed and analyzed and come in with the best cost estimate. But that's all of our projects. That's all the projects that are on the SPLOST are going to have to be reviewed the same way.
Absolutely.
That's the only concern, is that if there's some reference in this cost estimate that the best we have right now is $7 million, that gets a starting point for trying to negotiate down.
Yeah.
And George, excuse me, can we see that? I mean, we hadn't seen the estimate.
Yes, sir.
Can we get a copy of that?
You can.
Okay, 'cause
And when was the estimate? That wasn't done in 2011, was it?
No, this was done in 2019.
Okay.
because we hadn't seen that estimate on it. I'll make some copies for them. Thanks. Is that
And that's
ours?
unfortunate that you're just now receiving that. And so
Yeah.
that goes to Commissioner Gaines's point that perhaps there could have been better communication going forward. And I think that was part of what
We'll
the
get
sheriff
past
was
everybody.
trying to explain. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to
No.
go back on it, but if I'm in charge, and one of my big needs for many years, as you said, has been a radio system. I don't want to Monday morning quarterback it, but I'd have been on that guy every single day saying, what are we doing? Let's do a needs assessment. Let's find out exactly what we need. And unfortunately, we're here today where we're at. That didn't take place from either perspective, but it's where we're at today. And we've got to find the best system for the money that we can use to protect the officers and the people out there serving.
All I can tell you is that they did. And when y'all said it's going to be on a SPLOST, that's the number that they used. That was in June, and that was on the list. I mean, that number was placed on the list. The number back in 2011, based upon a 2012 letter that I was able to review, was above $3 million for a functional radio system at that time. But the county wasn't able to go forward with that, and we've just had a patchwork system ever since. And that's why it's of such crucial importance, I'm certain, to all the departments, but particularly to the sheriff's office. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you. All right. We'll move on to alcohol license transfer, retail package sale of beer and wine. Asher Pyra LLC, DBA doing business as Bo's Food Mart. James.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Patel is in the process of purchasing the established convenience store located at 2360 Dawson Forest Road, which is Bo's Food Mart. It is on the south side of Dawson Forest, really toward the center of Dawson Forest in between Lumpkin Campground and Highway 9. Mr. Patel was notified us earlier that he was unable to make this meeting for certain reasons, but this is a retail package store, so it is a beer and wine permit, and they've had this alcohol permit in the past, and they just want to, it's just changing hands, so the process is for this person to go through all the necessary background checks and everything. There were no red flags with the background checks, and they're just looking for the commission's approval to continue selling beer and wine at this location. I'll answer any questions.
Questions for Jameson?
So he doesn't own it yet? I thought he was listed as the owner.
He is in the
this
process of purchasing the convenience store, yes.
That's not got it done yet.
So do we usually issue them for their own?
I don't know. And it seemed like the application was sort of scant. Not that it made that much difference, I guess, in eligibility, but I just saw a lot of blanks. And then I saw where it said, just fill this out
We
completely.
do have, our application covers everything from, liquor stores to selling liquor, to distributing. This is a lot more simple in the fact that it's
Okay.
just a convenience store for beer and wine only. So a lot of the
Okay.
sections were left blank intentionally. Like there was an entire page on hotel use.
If I don't see an NA in there, I just wonder if they're just didn't see it or just trying to scoot by it. I that's the
definitely
teacher
understand.
still
Yes.
left in me.
Yes, ma'am. That's
But
and
I
that's
like
our job
to-
to review these applications and make sure they're complete.
Other questions?
But you said no red flags. Does he have a representative here?
He doesn't. He was unable to make his night.
But he didn't send any. Okay.
Other questions? Thank you, Jameson. Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
second by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we'll move into new business. First up, consideration of review of Dawson County Employee Handbook Paid Time Off Policy, Section 14-3. Brad, come on up. If you'll remember, this is something that we had moved from July till January of this year. This is in reference to giving our employees the option to purchase 40 hours of their leave time, one time a year. We had some discussion in reference to making sure that they had, some time that they weren't selling everything that they had. And I think Brad's made some changes to that as well. And you also have options. They asked for 40, but you could do 20, or you could do 30, or you could do any number that you so desire. So if you desire to do that at all. So Brad, go ahead.
Thank you. As the chairman said, we've been looking at this a couple different times throughout the year. I did reach out to our attorneys, and my concern was making somebody have keeping a base in there, 20 hours or whatnot for emergencies, and we can do that based on their recommendation. They also came back and expanded on the definition of selling back or having that paid out. And basically it's gone from, employees may receive a one-time payout of up to 40 PTO hours each calendar year for any unused PTO. And this is what the chairman was talking about because he had inquired about having a minimum. Employees may receive a one-time payout of up to 40 PTO hours each calendar year for any unused PTO, provided that a minimum of 40 PTO hours must be left remaining in the employee's PTO balance, not including the sick bank subsequent to that payout. I stress the 40 because that's the number that we could change. In other words, an employee is not eligible for a payout unless a balance of 40 hours in excess of the requested payout is left in the remaining employee's PTO bank. And again, I stress PTO because some of our employees do have that sick bank. and they would take it out of their PTO 80, 84, 96. And then the information I sent to you is that's what we have to decide on, if this is going to be accepted. We took a look at the PTO balance of what we rolled over with the introduction of the new handbook last year. Probably towards the end of the year, we're going to have some employees, if they don't use PTO, they're going to lose it. It can only roll over 480 hours. We've got some folks that have a substantial bank, and then they had a substantial PTO balance as well. They've been working for the county for a long time, so their PTO every pay period is at max or close to it. So I think the original idea behind this or thought process was so those folks, a lot of our first responders wouldn't lose PTO at the end of the year. They could sell a portion of it back.
Brad, what kind of number are we looking at? I mean, is it a large amount of people that's even affected by this, or I mean, when you looked at that?
It's not a large amount that would lose it. There's a few of them, I'd say probably a dozen.
Okay.
But
So the number you gave
that's
us
this year.
Yeah, the number you gave us last meeting was the worst case scenario.
Right.
With everybody sold hours.
Right. And that's, and those people that are close, they may use PTO this year and hit the end of the year, 470 or something if they use their PTO.
So it's gonna take several years for people to start banking or getting
Go over
those
the bank.
hours.
Correct. Yeah. Originally, we thought it would be 2 years. I'm relatively new, so it's going to take me a few years. I'll probably use my PTO.
Before you
So-
back, for you.
Yeah,
Before you get to 480?
right. But there's some folks, some of our employees that just, because of the operational pace, can't take that time off.
Right.
There's another group that just don't take it for whatever reason. I always encourage people to take it. It's a good time for us to recharge our batteries.
That is the truth. I'm glad you said that. Because sometimes if you stay and keep pushing and pushing, you're just muddying the water. And then when you take off and you kind of forget about it and you come back and you just do more. Now, I'm speaking from my experience. Of course, when I worked, I had leave. I left a lot of leave, but I'm seeing, it really is important to recharge your battery.
You're absolutely right.
So I think that's great if you do encourage people to take time off. I think that's good. You can get more done sometimes if you take off and look at something else. That's good.
Just don't come next week and ask for more vacation time.
So I think we have a few things to look at here, the PTO hours each calendar year. I also think there's a group of employees out there who, would like that extra cash for whatever reason. It can be tough on some families, especially in today's environment.
Other questions for Brad? Thanks, Brad. It's
Thank you.
a pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's kind of like our raises, we kind of looked at it. We started off with 100 and 105. We looked at it mid-year. Not knowing what this year is going to bring us. And like I said, I don't think that a lot of people's got that time to turn in. I'd like to start off at the 20 hours and then revisit it mid-year.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. They've already banked the time where they're going to take it off or we pay them for it. If they take it off, we're paying somebody else to fill the position, or we're going to pay them and they're going to stay and work. But like Ms. Fawcett said, they need to take off sometimes too.
They really do.
So
But,
you're proposing that we set the limited buyback to 20 hours?
To start off with and look at it mid-year.
Are you going to have a maintenance amount that they have to keep?
Well, I think we just changed the number from to set of 40 just to 20.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Minimum of 20 and,
I mean, I don't know how, I mean, I know that we checked with the attorney, but I just still don't know how you can tell people they can't take their time off if
well, they
If
can
it's
take their time
available.
off.
They just can't buy it back.
Difference is buying it back.
Yeah, but keeping it on the books, I say.
Well, they can-
Take
they
a
can-
second.
They can, I mean, if they're sick, they would take their time off. You're not telling them they can't use it. You're just telling them that they can't sell it.
Right. So currently they don't have the right under our employee handbook policies to sell it or an entitlement to a buyback. If we give them that privilege, then I think we can limit it. So we cannot take it away. It's still going to be, as the chairman mentioned, it's available for them to take off. But when we award them leave time, that's meant to be leave time and time to take away for all the reasons that Commissioner Fawcett and others have mentioned. So if we give them this new right, we can limit that. I'm not concerned that we can't require them to have some maintained time for the purposes of leave as we intended it. I'm comfortable that we can do that.
So what you're saying is just change the suggestion that says employees may receive a one-time payout of up to 20 PTO hours each calendar year for any unused PTO, provided that a minimum of 20 PTO hours must be left remaining in the employee's PTO balance, not including sick bank subsequent to payout. In other words, an employee is not eligible to pay out unless a balance of 20 hours in excess of the requested payout is left in the remaining employee's PTO bank.
Because if they're out sick, they're gonna use it out of different bank. It's coming out of their sick hours, right?
Well,
Or
Brad,
it's not
could
the
you
same
speak to
hours.
that? Yeah, because it was first I'd heard about sick bank
Yeah.
tonight, but I think
What
that's
is the sick
not
bank?
It's not the same
available
hours.
any longer.
Correct. So what we did is before we had sick bank and we had vacation time. And with the introduction of the new handbook, I think you had to be here for over 5 years. We took that time, we combined it and put it in a sick bank. And with the idea that it's in the handbook that you're going to use your PTO hours first, and then you can tap into your sick bank. So if somebody's out sick, they use their PTO hours, and that's how PTO is designed. It used to be that people would call in sick, but they would really be out, on the lake or something. So what this does is it gives, most companies have moved this way in organizations. You have your bank, you have PTO, you use it as you deem fit. If you get sick, you've got it there. If you go on vacation, you've got it there. And, it comes down to your accountability. Keep a little bit in there in case you do get sick or you have an emergency of some sort.
So Brad, just if I could clarify, so currently we have sick banks for everybody. I was thinking we combined this.
No.
Okay,
we
right.
don't.
So it's the
And I don't
unusual.
remember quite what it was. It was employees that were here over 5 years and had a substantial amount
Okay.
of PTO as well as sick time, and we moved a portion of that to a bank. And one of the reasons they did that was so that with the new PTO rates, people wouldn't be maxing out right away.
Okay, so I think the way the policy is written, and I just want to make sure that's what everybody intends, it would allow them to sell PTO time, but not have an entitlement to sell sick leave time.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So this covers that because it says not including.
Mhm.
So we want to leave that in there. Mhm.
But not everybody has a sick bank.
Okay.
That'll just be your longer-term employees who had not used their time over time would have a sick bank, and I don't know what that number is. Do you, Brad?
You said it wasn't about.
employees have this right now?
Have a sick bank? Okay. All right, so somebody want to make a motion?
Let's see. I guess we've had discussion about, this 20 hours.
Yes, we just.
Just
wanna
make a motion. We
like
have some
it
more
is,
discussion if we
except
need to.
20.
Sir?
You can make a motion. We can have some more discussion if we need to.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that they have a one-time payout of 20 hours of PTO in a calendar year with a minimum of 20 hours remaining.
Are you saying go with this
To
except
change
put
the
20
20.
instead of 40?
Yes, ma'am.
But everything else stays the
That
same.
paragraph?
Mhm. And then revisit Did you,
revisit mid-year,
and what would that be? June,
June, July,
July.
July.
July? Okay.
All right, so we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Thanks, Brad.
Will you put that on your calendar, Brad, for July? Who keeps up with this?
Clerk will.
Okay, I didn't know.
All right, we'll move on to number 2. Consideration of request to accept Georgia Child Passenger Safety Mini Grant. Chief Thompson brought that up. That's where we get child safety seats for free. All we got to do is be willing to take them. Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion.
I want to ask, there was something in here, I can't remember the exact words. You determine eligibility. Okay, so you have these people fill out a form and you investigate or verify their financial standing? Is that what is done here?
So the form is generated by Safe Kids of Georgia.
Okay,
We complete the form.
okay,
and use the already previously established poverty guidelines set by the federal government.
okay,
So we just have them complete the form or review the form, compare it against the existing federal guidelines. We'll go from there.
okay.
We don't try to reinvent the wheel. Keep it simple.
Other discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of IFB number 357-19 Rock Creek Park Berm Construction Change Order Funding Request. David brought that. That's an additional $66,586 to make this thing actually work. Any other information needed from David?
Now, I thought I saw a 70,000 something.
Says on my paper
Was I
requested
dreaming?
66.
7586.
Okay.
I thought that's what it said.
$70,586.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Okay,
I gotta turn it over.
okay.
70,586
And this is in addition,
to 50 something.
okay,
56, 156
okay.
was the original,
Mm-hmm.
for a total of 126,742.
Yes.
And that doesn't affect anything that's already been done. Okay,
And this is still Townley.
yes,
Yes, ma'am.
it's a change order.
Yeah, that's right.
Other information needed. Motions.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved. Next up, we have consideration of Harry Sosby Road right-of-way and development agreement acceptance. David brought that update to us a couple of weeks ago. Any other information needed? Go ahead.
Much like Joey, I wanted to take my mask off for a second. I did report 2 weeks ago that we didn't have the fully executed agreement. We received that fully executed agreement from the developers while I was in the room here today. So that hard document is in my office. I do have a scanned copy of that. I just wanted to relay to the board. We do have a fully executed agreement from the developer, ready for the chairman's signature. And this would be for, and what I also have to report is that the work is completed. And as soon as this is over with, if the final striping is done on the road tomorrow, then we'll open it up for traffic. You'll recall they had to do some work on that. And by the last thing I have to is by accepting the new realignment of Harry Sosby Road, we then automatically abandon the old alignment of Harry Sosby Road. So That's, that we, from time to time, if we do abandon a road, we have to follow that abandonment procedures. But in this case, it happens at the same time because it's a realignment.
Okay, good.
Other information needed. Motions.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of green infrastructure low impact development program. David brought that to you as well. Some work that Brian does and keeps up with as part of his program. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett.
Second.
Who seconded? Seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of elected official salaries. Brad brought that to you. Chief Magistrate, Associate Magistrates, as well as the Coroner's Office were not looked at by the state when all the other elected officials were. And in the past, we have added the COLA or whatever it is we gave to our other employees to our elected officials and the people that work for them when they weren't given a raise through the state. And I think Brad ran some of those numbers. Brad, if you want to come up, I think it was a fairly small amount. If you want to go over that, Brad.
Correct. Last time we met, the chairman had asked about the deputy coroners, which I hadn't calculated in.
They are employees.
So for the magistrate, or I'm sorry, excuse me, the chief magistrate, associate magistrate, coroner, and the deputy coroners, which is the chairman said they were not included in the legislation that passed. The total would be $4,469.42 with a 2% increase.
Is that including the associates, other associates that he has? He has 3.
I didn't calculate all his associates because some of them are supplemental or. Right. So we included just the associate magistrate. And if we did include them, it wouldn't be that much more anyway, being part-timers.
Did we include our part-time help in every other department when we gave pay raises?
No, we didn't, not this time around.
We did not?
I think it was just full-time.
Any other questions for Brad?
I guess, so the COLA, we did a 2% COLA for all county employees. That doesn't include part-time, just full-time?
It was just full-time.
I wasn't aware of that.
Well,
It
me
wasn't-
either.
It wasn't stated. I mean, it was for all employees, if you're full-time or part-time.
In the past, we've always done everybody,
And
part-time, full-time, because they work just as hard. They may not work as often,
right.
but they work.
In the,
Can I ask Vicky? I mean,
Yeah. Can ask anything you want.
Vicky, in the past, have we done part-time?
I remember that it was full-time and part-time. I could be wrong, but that's. not
Can we,
Well, gosh,
Can we
when
look
you
at that,
say
Chairman?
employees, that would be my assumption.
Because I'm pretty sure,
Do you think that we did do part-time this time?
I think we did.
We need to know.
I wouldn't mistake my last.
Did you turn in your part-time people? You did?
He did,
Okay.
yeah.
He did, so
we did. it.
we did do it.
Yeah.
So we need to go back.
We just need to make sure that all of our part-time got treated the same, make sure that happens. So that would include his part-time as well,
And that's 2%.
2%.
It's not a big difference.
No,
No, it won't be.
no, it won't be that
$200.
big a difference because they only make like $20,000, so $400
No.
each, based out over
Okay,
12
so
months.
tell me now, who are we talking about? Are we talking about?
Magistrate and
But
coroner.
him,
That's him.
him specifically,
That's him. He's the chief
and then
magistrate
associate,
and he has 3 associates.
3 associates.
He has 1 full-time and 2 part-time.
Okay,
And
And
then we're
then-
talking about the coroner,
Ted
and
and.
Ted has 3.
So it'll be 8 people.
Right. And I broke his out separately. The coroner, I did his salary and then I broke his out as I did for the magistrate as well. But the total is just under $5,000, be about 4,500.
We want to make sure, and or at least I would recommend to the board, whoever makes this motion, that we make sure that we didn't leave out any of our other part-time people, because
Oh, I
like he
know.
said, he turned his in, so they're getting it.
Mhm.
And we've done that in the past, and Vicky thinks we did it anyway, so we need to double check that.
I know, I remember the motion wasn't limited to full-time.
It
So
just said all employees.
No.
Yeah.
question for legal, I know
Yes.
there was something brought up, the way that this functions.
What you call
Can
it?
you discuss that?
Yes, the statute that's in play
Turn your mic on.
Yes. Commissioner Gaines, the statute that's in play here that authorizes the Board of Commissioners to do this is OCGA 45-1611. And it authorizes the Board of Commissioners to issue a local supplement, as how it's referred to. Specifically, it says that the governing authority may supplement the salaries of these elected officials. Also importantly, we cannot decrease the amount during the term of office once we do apply these supplements, which I think you're aware of as well. So we have spoken about it, and Ms. Brad has brought it forward as COLAs, because they were not applied to COLA by the state. And so while the statute does not specifically authorize the Board of Commissioners to give a COLA, so to speak, it does authorize a supplement. And I think it's fine if you arrive at the calculation of the supplement based upon a COLA figure. But you just need to be aware that once it's applied, we can't reduce it throughout the term of office.
And we never
Again,
have.
And we haven't. And next year, we
If
can
we look
apply
at it as a
another or more if there's not a supplement applied by the state.
So whatever the verbiage needs to be.
2% supplement.
I
A
think we would want to
supplement based
say,
on,
based upon the
2%
statute.
2% figure.
yeah,
Yeah.
2% COLA figure.
And if we can reference the statute in the minutes, I think that would be helpful.
OC,
OCGA 45-16-11A3.
Got that?
You don't have to say the A3 part.
Oh, you better.
So pursuant to the authority in that statute, we're issuing this local supplement, which is going to be calculated based upon
2%
COLA,
2%.
2%.
All right, do I have a motion?
What she said, what she said.
All right,
Chairman, I make a motion that we give a 2% supplement based on OCGA 45-16-1A3, an amount of 2%
Based on 2%.
based on 2% COLA.
okay,
And to add to my motion is to go back and all our part-time employees
check that.
and check that and make sure they got the 2% COLA.
Okay. Got a motion, do I have a second?
Wait a minute, was that that
Second.
number right on that OCGA?
Yes. Sir.
It wasn't 11, it was one, I had 11.
Oh, it was 45-16-11. I thought it
11,
was,
he said 1, yeah.
I heard 11, but
Oh, I thought I heard 1. Oh, okay. Mayor.
Let's have a motion
Kristen will get
by
that.
Commissioner Satterfield, seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And that's proof 4-0. Thanks, Brad, for all that information. Next up, consideration of 2021 Board of Commissioners Vice Chair appointment, so that you can stand here when I ain't here. So, do I have a motion, or do y'all want to discuss it and argue over it? Which one of y'all want to do it?
I think 3 of us have already done it, Mr. Chairman. So low man on the totem pole, I'd like to nominate Mr. Emery Dooley for vice chair.
Have a motion of Emery Dooley for vice chair. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Satterfield, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion.
Congratulations.
Hearing none, please vote.
Condolences, I mean condolences.
At least you were here, Chris.
And
wasn't
that is
Yeah.
approved 3 with 1 abstention. Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't want to vote for myself, so.
Okay. You will do fine. You are used to serving in the chairman's
Yes.
role when you were at the planning
Yeah, I
commission.
was
So
vice
you have done
He's
it in the
got, he's
past.
got
You
experience.
have experience.
It's just nice to know where you stand.
There you go.
I heard the word low,
That's what I
or
mean,
that I must have understood because I thought I heard.
They did Tim the
one.
same way. His first year.
That's
Yeah, and then
right.
we voted for Chris when he wasn't here.
Yep. All right, next up, consideration of study concerning cost of services by land use type, residential, commercial, agriculture. Commissioner Gaines, you brought that up before, and I think you were going to get some more information.
Yeah, so, about 6 months ago, when we were in discussions in our first city and county SPOSH meeting, one of the things that I brought up then was the idea of doing an efficiency study amongst all organizations, the county, the city, and Etowah Water at the time, to just ensure that we're being the most efficient we can with taxpayer dollars. And I think that's still a valid, some valid data points that we could gather out of an efficiency study that looks internally on how we're operating. I also think that recently I was just thinking through annexations and things and really gaining a better perspective and data on what our service delivery cost is per zoning. What does it cost us to serve a residential unit in our community? What does it cost us to serve an agriculture zoning? What does it cost us to serve a commercial zoning? And really have a third party that comes in and takes an honest look at our operations. And so originally, when I was talking about the efficiency study, I'd engaged Carl Vincent Institute and had a couple phone calls with them. And they were willing to collectively do it with us in the city and Etowah Water. However, the city decided to do their own through GMA, their own association. I think we're better served, instead of having our own association do it, have a third party that's going to be independent through Carl Vincent Institute or Georgia Tech. And so I believe at this point, with those two studies, a lot of the same data points are going to be gathered. And so last week I had a conversation with Betsy and McGriff and some folks at Carl Vincent, and they're able to combine both studies into one. And we can ask for a lot of the same data points that or a lot of the same information that goes into creating the study is uniform. So I asked them to put together a proposal for us so we can look and see, roughly what the cost is. And what I would like to do at this point is for us to just say, either we need to have a vote to say we want to proceed with gaining or getting additional information from, Carl Vincent or whoever else we want to engage with, but they were open to it and said that they could probably handle both at the same time.
And you don't know the cost.
I do not. They were supposed to get back with me this week and they haven't yet. It said it was a tight timeline because we had a conversation last week. And so they'll probably get back with me in the next few days. And as soon as we get that, obviously it's shared with everybody. And we may look at massaging the scope of it and any particular data points that we want to have them come up with.
Okay.
I agree that it's important that we take a look at all the efficiencies, make sure that we're operating our government in all aspects, in every department, as efficient as possible. So that our charge is to watch out over the taxpayers' money. And so, it only makes good sense for us to have a study done that will tell us that. And we've had citizens that have been asking for that. So I think it's a good time to do it.
So do we want
But we
to,
don't, it said
do we
about the
wanna
cost, and we
just-
don't know the cost.
do we want to just table it again until our next meeting? So I'll have that cost back and then we
Yeah.
can
Do
make a
that.
I don't
determination.
want to move forward.
Yeah,
unless we
I don't
know.
want to commit to it without knowing our cost,
No.
obviously, but
You want to make that in a motion?
yeah, I'd make a motion that we table, what's this thing called?
Number 8.
The consideration of the study
Cost of service.
for cost of services and combining with the efficiency study until our next voting session, which will be February
18th.
February 18th.
I have a motion from Commissioner Gaines. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. That's approved 4-0. That will be tabled. Next up, we have consideration of revised resolution requesting the calling of a special election to impose a county 1% sales, 1% special purpose local option sales and use tax. The discussion on this was combining what we had broke down before on the radio and the EOC and 911 center, combining that project into $1 amount of 8.5 million so that we would have options. If the building, we had originally, I think, said 5.5 million for the building, 3 million for the radio system. But if the building or the system, you know, we'd have a combined project. You can't have one without the other anyway.
That's right.
And so $8.5 million for that particular project. And as the board has said many times, you know, if it goes over that, we'll look, try to figure out how we would fund the remaining, because it is our goal to have a functional building and system. I know from being in charge of the EOC for a number of years and being on the second floor of a building at the fire department that could get blown down just like that if a tornado came through. Those people are not in a safe environment and need to be in a safe environment, as well as our 911 operators are on the second floor. So EOC/911 center that's built properly protects those people, protects their lives, allows them to do their job the way they need to be able to do it without worrying about whether they're going to be there in the next few minutes if a tornado comes through. So I think it's a good combined project. I think it's a great idea to combine the two and we get the biggest bang for our buck.
Does the sheriff's department, I don't think they do, is it affected by impact fees? I didn't think so, just partner, okay.
I think the only thing they could have had was detention beds.
Would have had what?
But that was in the,
Detention beds is the only thing they could have had. Yeah,
not in the current one.
yeah,
Okay.
It's gotta be new.
because we didn't have,
It's gotta
The
be,
need.
it's gotta be new.
yeah, it's got to be new and we didn't have the need for that at the time. All right. Other information needed? Motions?
I make a motion that we move forward with approving the revised resolution for Splash 7 with the change of combining the EOC and the 911 center, as well as the radio system, into one bucket of $8.5 million. And then, yeah, I'll leave it with that.
Have a motion from Commissioner Gaines. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Dooley. Discussion.
Chairman, I agree with you, and I guess the rest of the board, just like we want to ensure the sheriff that and emergency services and road department, whoever else uses that radio system. We've had other projects where we've had to try to find or finance trucks and different things like that. And I mean, if it takes more money, we'll find the money.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. As Joey said, that the first one, they didn't finish it. They put it in 3 phases and they didn't finish the first phase. So now you can't go back and complete the second phase because the first phase wasn't finished. So I'm with the rest of the board saying that if we get that study back and it costs more money, we'll have to find the money.
And one thing I want to say too is I'm glad that we are including Public Works into that, because for years, when I used to sit in the EOC, one of the major concerns that I had was that we had all of our guys out in Public Works with absolutely no communication to any of them. Except by if they had a cell phone, and if they had one, it was their own that we could contact and keep up with for hours on hours. A lot of times I would sit there and not know where any of their guys were. Couldn't call them if I needed to. So I'm glad that they're part of that, David, and I'm glad that we'll be hopefully through this process and whatever else it takes, making your people as safe as well.
And I think that, I mean, we're committed to doing, as I said earlier, an independent needs assessment from an independent party that's not affiliated with any system or any UHF, VHF, 800 megahertz or whatever it is. We want somebody to come in and sit down with each department, sheriff, get what their needs are. Who are they communicating with? They're communicating with the Forsyth County, Forsyth's on 800. If they're communicating with State Patrol, they're on UHF, VHF. So I think ultimately it'll be a hybrid because we're kind of in a pinch point. The people to the south are 800, people to the north are UHF, VHF. So we've got some topography challenges. And so our first step is going to be getting a needs analysis done by an independent party that's going to help us understand exactly what the best combination of systems will be.
And each one of them, regardless of the system, will provide some challenge.
Sure.
Yes, they will.
There is no 100% effective, regardless of what someone that sells the product might tell you. That's not true. None of them are 100% effective. You will still have some places that will be dead. I mean, I know in the past when we talked about an 800 megahertz system with Forsyth, we had one, we couldn't talk in Station 7 at all. It was dead. Radio didn't work in there. Nothing worked. So there was a solution, obviously. You can do an extra antenna and extra things like that makes it work, but just a straight up system. So that's what a third party person will tell us. That's what they'll give us. They'll give us all the things that you would need to make things work.
And I think everybody will agree, we don't want an inferior system,
No,
so we want the right one and we'll have to find the money and that's it.
The way I look at it is I wouldn't want somebody to use something that I wouldn't want to use.
That's
And I'm
right.
not going to ask somebody to do that.
Mhm.
all right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0, and that revision to the resolution is approved. No one signed up for public comment in this section.
No, sir.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance, both in person and online.